So, Tom and Lance, thank you for having me in your home.
You're very welcome. It's good to have you here.
It's gorgeous. I'd love to know whose taste the interior design is.
Well, to be honest, lots of it is Lance's. My key inputs to the design of the home are the Union Jack sofa, Union Jack curtains, Union Jack fridge, Union Jack blanket, and also Union Jack storage boxes.
Storage boxes, magnets, aprons.
Yes.
I mean, really, truly, everywhere you look, somewhere, and usually not well hidden, is a Union Jack in this house.
Anything tasteful is Lance's, basically.
Like, as an American, because our country is so young, we treasure things like exposed brick, like really well-aged brick, but you just never see it. And I think sometimes that's taken for granted here. So my whole thing was leave as much of this old hops drying factory exposed as possible.
Let's talk about the American thing, because you mentioned coming over here from America. Is this now your permanent home, the two of you?
Yeah, we struggled to get Lance a visa. We had visa issues initially because it was like before our wedding, you have to like give notice, obviously, and if you don't have a US visa, a UK visa, and you've got a US passport, you had to give like 12 weeks.
Listen, what I learned is it is actually really challenging in terms of what the hurdles, like the paperwork, the legal hurdles, the financial hurdles, all of it, to being able to reside here and not just be a tourist here. So to those worried that too many people are able to too easily get in here, by the way, I had a really hard time doing it, and I've got plenty of means and contact with lawyers, and it was still very, very difficult. I'll just say, rising above politics, it's very hard. And we were actually in love and getting married, and not trying to fool anybody with anything.
Did you have to prove that you were in love and getting married?
Yeah, we had to make out in front of some sort of a judge.
We had to like send photos in, text messages, emails.
Did you really?
And have to like really prove that we weren't just in a random relationship. And it was quite crucial because they told us it was going to be 5 to 6 days, and it ended up being 5 weeks. And we made the notice giving for our wedding by 24 hours. So if we had got it 24 hours later, we wouldn't have been able to get married on the day that we planned.
At some point, they asked for all of our text conversations with each other from like the day we met, which is like,
really?
At that point
the whole...
Oh yeah, like 4.5 years of texting back. And we were long distance over a lot of this. And let me just say, there ain't a subject we didn't discuss. And somewhere, some judge was probably blushing.
But I tell you what, we'll talk about all that soon, and we'll talk about politics soon. But you mentioned these hurdles you had to overcome. How about cultural differences if we look at the gay thing? Have you noticed any differences? Well, Tom as well, because you've spent a lot of time in America, between the gay culture and community that you have in North America coming here to the UK?
I really am bad with gay culture because I don't really get to... Whenever I go travelling, I'm either at the pool or at the hotel. I don't really get to experience the whole going out and mixing and that kind of thing very often. And even in the UK, I don't really know all that much. All I know is that nights out in heaven end up at like 5 a.m. in the morning, and
Yeah, that doesn't happen so much in America, does it? But that's not necessarily a gay thing.
Everything shuts at 1:45.
Yeah,
well, in
just
LA
don't drink
anyway.
as much.
Yeah.
I mean, I came here for Tom, so it's like I never experienced single gay culture here, the club culture here, the bar culture here, which is still where so much of gay life happens. That's where we went for safety way back in the day, and it's still where we find our home so often. But I haven't done that here, so I don't really know. And also, I could talk about how my life as a gay man has changed, but I don't know how much of that is being here in London or just the fact that
you're in a relationship.
I'm in a relationship, I'm in love, now I'm married, and just changes the things that you want to do.
I've never experienced it in terms of, ever since I've been out, I've been with Lance, so I wouldn't know what it would be like to...
So you never went to...
I've never been out as a single man in any situation as a gay guy.
You missed out, darling.
No, I know. I've got Lance.
Okay, now.
No, I've got Lance the rest of my life, so I'm not missing out. I've got Lance.
Listen, I would love to go out here on occasion. We're just never here, like together.
Okay.
To go
I was
out.
like, go out on your own. Okay.
No, because I think it's, I mean, gay people are fabulous and fun. Like, we know how to have a good time.
We do, don't we?
We do. I just, part of it's also Tom is at the top of his game as an athlete right now. I mean, he's a world champion right now. He's got to be up at 6 a.m., which means I have to be up at 6 a.m. I don't have to be, but at 6 a.m. he starts cooking breakfast. And if I want like a homemade meal, I better get out of bed.
Cooking breakfast every morning.
He does.
And then he's downstairs showering, getting ready. I'm upstairs cooking away. And then by the time
I'm making the bed down there too. I have my...
Well, he makes the bed. I come upstairs, make the breakfast, and then we sit and watch the news in the morning before I go to training. And then he walks me to the station and gets his coffee. And
second coffee.
A second coffee, yeah.
Sounds very idyllic.
I mean, I think it kind of is.
Well, I suppose, it should be. If you two should think that, shouldn't you?
I mean, listen, I know if you'd asked me, 5 years ago, if I was ever going to get married, and this is in the middle of a marriage equality fight that I was deeply involved in, I would have told you I probably missed that boat. It's no secret, and I'm a bit sappy about this, but it's no secret that I fell incredibly in love. And yes, it does feel like a dream. Oh. I'll get teary-eyed. But yeah, every day that we're actually together here in London does feel like a dream.
Unless he doesn't put the dishes in the dishwasher. And then
it's a nightmare.
Beeping nightmare. Yeah. Can we cuss on this?
Yes, you can. Let's talk about you falling in love then. Am I right in thinking that you met in the US through friends?
Yeah, so I was over doing some TV hosts. I think it was like the Nickelodeon Teen Choice Kids Choice Awards or something like that. So I was winning an award for the UK side of things, but it was all done out in LA. And it was one of those things that I'd obviously gone out and was mixing like in dinner and like meeting new people in LA. And then one time, a mutual friend of ours, we didn't know that at the time, but said, "Oh, let's go for dinner." And I was like, "Okay, yeah, fine. I'll bring the people that are coming from my side, and we'll all have like a group dinner. Great." And he said he was going to bring a couple of friends. And then I see Lance sat at the table.
You showed up like an hour late, by the way. We had all been waiting there forever for you. I think we'd ordered starters. We were waiting to order mains.
There's a hint of an eye roll, by the way, coming from Tom there.
Well, it wasn't my fault that we were late, technically. But yes, we were late. But then we got started talking, and it wasn't like I kept getting caught looking at him. Because obviously I wasn't like really out then, and I didn't really expect to kind of like have this moment that I did with Lance. But the way that I got around it was talking about the goings on inside the Olympic Village and how it would make a pretty cool film. and we traded like contact details at the end of the night, and I put my number in his phone with a wink face, and it was kind of a little bit...
So did you even know that he was flirting with you, or did you not even know that he was gay?
I knew he was straight going to dinner, and or at least that's what I was led to believe. And then we all know that moment when you catch someone of the same gender looking at you a certain way.
Oh, it's great.
And not only are they looking, but then the telltale sign is when they look away really quickly, like they've been caught. Now, I'm sorry, straight guys don't do that. If they're caught looking at you, they just grin. They're like, "Hey, what's up, buddy?" That's not what he was doing. And it happened a few times, and I was, but I didn't know what to make of it, I have to say. And then a friend of mine at the table texted me and said, "He's Googling you."
Only because the friend was like, "Oh my God, like, do you know what who he is or what he does?" I was like, "I don't know who he is." I was just like, I kind of just thought he was cute. And then he was like, "Google him and see what he..." I was like, okay, so like, first of all, like Googled Lance Black.
That's a really dangerous thing to do, though.
And then I didn't know.
Who knows what comes up then?
I also did not know that his first name was Dustin. because you introduced yourself as Lance, so I didn't know
So
that
you
you were
thought I was
actually...
lying right off.
So I was like, wait, why is he calling himself Lance? Like, he's calling himself by his middle name. That's weird. And then, but yeah, so then I, again, the friend that invited us is like, yeah, he wrote Milk. And I was like what? Like, I was like, I had never seen it, so I was guilty of never seeing Milk.
He thought it was a dairy industry movie.
No, I didn't. But I was just like, what's that? And then I was a bit curious. But then I obviously was Googling and finding all these things out. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. But it was, it was an interesting night. Lots of small talk about the Olympic Village. And that's how you texted me the next morning. It was like, oh.
I had a script to do, so I had to go home. And they were all celebrating because he just won some award. So I left. But I left with a phone number that also had a winky face in the phone, like that he'd put next to it, and it was also a sign, right?
Yeah, big time.
Like in that discussion of mask versus not so mask. Not the winky face.
Says Lance, who sends his assistant over to get the number from me.
By the way, I have no desire to be masked. I'm just me. And on some days, that's just blazing on fire. I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. But yeah, I did send my assistant. You're really cute. Like, you're really intimidating. You have no idea. Like, I was intimidated. I was scared. So I sent my straight assistant.
Well, he was really cute.
And
he was really cute.
So can I just say, right, so Lance has done all this work with kind of LGBT rights, writing Milk. You weren't even out. You didn't even know about Milk.
No.
So when you started to discover about the fact that he knew about all this stuff, was that something that attracted you to him?
Yeah, I think it was the first time that I didn't care. I think that was the big telltale sign for me, was that before I'd always been worried about what other people would think or how people would see it and be like, oh, what's happening? That's a bit weird. Why are they talking so much? That kind of thing. But it was the first time that I saw Lance, and then I, started talking to him, and I just did not care what anyone else thought. So I think that one for me was like, oh, this is...
Had you been trying to suppress it then, before then?
I don't think I was ever trying to suppress it. If you ask any of my friends, I wasn't. It was just one of those things that if I met a girl or didn't really matter. Not that it would go to such extent, but it was like people knew that I was kind of flirty with everyone. I'm not flirty with everyone now, just flirty with Lance now.
He's a flirt.
Yeah, but the thing is,
yeah, he is.
Yeah,
I am too.
You're really guilty of being a flirt because Lance, because he's from South, he's Texan. So the one thing that Lance does, he's very if he sees someone, he'll grab on the shoulder and be like, oh, rub his knee.
That's a big difference between the U.S. and where I'm from in the U.S.
People are more demonstrative.
Here. Well, yeah, I mean, where I'm from, the behavior that you demonstrate, even with a stranger or someone you barely know, if you do it here, it's considered flirtatious. It's considered really forward. So yeah, I mean, you're taught to touch people and ask a lot of personal questions and eye contact.
So what was it like the first time you did touch his knee and put your arm on his shoulder? Did he flinch because it was too, or no?
There wasn't a whole lot of contact. I mean, it's one of the things that, sure, he was really cute. I'm not gonna lie. Did I want to give him a kiss? Oh my gosh, yeah. Did I dare? No, I wasn't gonna initiate that. And we just talked and talked and talked for hours and hours. And that's when I knew. I remember calling my mom the next day, and I remember just telling her, Mom, I'm in trouble.
I love the way that you describe it as trouble, rather than, Mum, I've got something really exciting to say.
Well, because, it's no secret I'm a little bit older, and I had been in relationships, and so, it's not just about the sparkles and the giggles and the butterfly wings. I know there's a responsibility, and that there'll be ups and downs, and that if, and the relationship is work. Yeah. And I saw it coming. It was coming at me like a freight train.
But also, if you're saying that, Tom, you were at a different stage of your journey to kind of explore and express your sexuality, then you presumably thought you had to be careful with that. It's quite a sensitive time for somebody to go through, isn't it? And if you just get in there like a freight train, look at you, why are you smiling?
It was.
I'm not
I was
gonna-
definitely the freight train.
I was gonna say. Let me just say. No comment.
You were the freight train. Okay.
I was not.
Lance is quite, like, believe it or not, Lance is quite a shy person.
You were shy and demure, and he was
I
pushing.
wasn't.
I didn't have to do any work. Let's just.
All right.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, you have mentioned the age difference that some people have commented on, and do you see that rather than something that is an obstacle to get over, something that fed into your connection in your relationship in the early days?
I know for me, I have never ever been able to connect with someone that is my age, whether that's, you know, any of my friends who understand how much hard work goes into getting to the top of your chosen field, your career, and then the feelings of loss of a family member that's really close to you. Lance had lost his brother, and also his mum, and I lost my dad, and we've been able to connect on so many different levels. And I think for having someone that you can also talk to about, like, if I was to talk about after winning an Olympic medal, how sad and upset and how I didn't know if I wanted and lost all motivation, didn't really want to do it anymore, to someone that had never won an Olympic medal or they'd be like, what are you on about? You've won an Olympic medal, cheer up, like, carry on, get on with it. Whereas Lance had won an Oscar, and then after winning an Oscar, like, where'd you go? Like, what do? You have that moment of, like, post-Olympic blues or post-Oscar blues. And we were able to talk about it without sounding like spoiled brats to each other, because it is something that you do really go through. And I think things like that, and understanding how much hard work goes into things, how much you have to focus on certain things, and being able to support each other and understand that. There's not many people my age that I would be able to do that with. And plus, Lance is probably the more immature one.
He keeps smiling brightly as you're talking.
He makes me laugh. Here's my take on it, and I'm guilty of having done this wrong a few times.
Aren't we all, darling?
Whenever I see a good friend, right, like a good-looking friend walk into a restaurant or a club or a bar to introduce me to their new other half, their new boyfriend. They're very excited about it. And they sort of they both have the same kind of muscles, and they both have the great, blonde or brunette hair. And they start talking about how much they have in common. I'm like, you are going to have the best 3 to 6 months ever. I think that having a lot in common is incredibly overrated. And you can sort of compare it to heterosexual relationships, which have this added bonus. There is never too much similarity. There's always this built-in difference. And even in the cycles of how men and women change at different, years of their lives and different portions of their lives, they're changing differently at different times. So it's like in straight relationships, you have this built-in thing where you're always curious about your other half forever because you're both changing. In gay relationships, I think could benefit, and often what I see from the ones that seem to last is there is some built-in difference, whether it's cultural, where they grew up and where they lived, race, ethnicity, religion, age. There's some difference that lets curiosity continue past 3 to 6 months. Tom surprises me at every turn with things I never knew, that I didn't know I would be curious about.
He's still surprising you now.
Oh my gosh, are you kidding? All the time.
Let's talk about your wedding, which was obviously the biggest event in your lives of the last year.
Yes.
Were you, how big a thing was this in terms of your, because people talk about politically how it's just a symbolic victory, but actually it's like what you were saying earlier, Tom, it shows the world that your love is legit. It's not just symbolic, is it?
Yeah, no, it's like for us, there was no politics or anything behind it. We wanted to get married because we wanted to get married. And I think there's something about, I don't know, whenever I've referred to Lance before, whether it's in the diving world or with people that you meet or what, if you say, oh yeah, me and my boyfriend are doing this, everyone's like, oh yeah, okay, then, or can I bring my boyfriend? And it's kind of a bit like, oh yeah, okay. Whereas when it's like a husband, it legitimizes the relationship. So people take us seriously. So I think that's the one big difference that I've noticed since we've been married, is that we're married and we're starting to be treated like an actual married couple that actually do things together and actually are with each other all the time.
That was the entire, listen, I was one of the founding members of that case that made it to the Supreme Court in the United States. We had to go through the courts. The whole argument was, is there meaning in the word marriage? Because that's what we were fighting for in many states. Many states had very similar laws for civil partnerships. What is the power of the word? And we were able to prove in a court of law that word has power because everyone understands it universally. Everyone knows what a married couple is. And, and it's what we felt like we were in so many ways already. And it was like a confirmation of that. What I didn't expect at all, because I'd been doing that forever, and I always thought I knew what marriage meant, and then we did it, and I will admit I had no clue the whole time I was fighting for it in the United States, and I'll get teary talking about it. I had no idea the power of the simple design of getting up in front of all of the people who you love and who matter in your life and making a promise to another person. It is such a potent and powerful design. And I mean, it truly was. I rarely see him cry. I might a little more often.
You're tearing up now,
but we were both, we were both in tears on that day, and for good reason. And it had more meaning than I ever thought. And I was so happy to do it. And I was raging mad that it was kept from us for so long.
Really? The anger was there as well. God, what a lot of emotion going on that day.
Well, welcome to my world.